What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys. Back at it again, more Halo Wars 2 action, continuing our best leader strategy testing series. Jumping in, going to be using Sergeant Forge today. Working through, again, really enjoying, this is episode number 5, really enjoying doing this series, to be honest. It's been a lot of fun. I actually feel like my Blitz game has kind of stepped up a little bit. So looking at Sergeant Forge here, this is the deck we'll be running with. We're going to try it out. Just a quick look there. We'll jump into this game. We'll get some things going here. And thanks to a little bit of editing magic, trying to keep some of these a little bit shorter, I do feel bad because we get ranked up or matched up with a rank 1. So I definitely have been in this position a few times. Definitely played some rank 45, some rank 50s. So I kind of know, I know that he's probably, again, he's new to the game. He's obviously got a pretty significant veteran level disadvantage. His is all most likely level 1, whereas I'm sitting at, around an average of 3 to 4. Some of my common cards being a little bit higher at level 5. So I've got a pretty significant advantage. We'll still try to test the deck out. I've actually, one big thing that I've swapped up that I think is interesting move is to try out this new, or not this new, but the different starting army. So he does have the capability to start with the Scorpion tank and some Marines, and I've realized that that seems pretty good. But the fact that we can get 2 reflective Marines as well as 2 Jackrabbits is actually pretty solid. So we're going to go, I'm going to take a look, I'm going to try this new army out. I haven't really ever tested with this before. I realize as I'm going through, I do generally seem to be using a lot of the same cards. I think one that just has generally to do with the fact that they're overall pretty good. So I do want to continue to use things that are good. I also want to have competitive decks. That's the whole point of this. I don't ever want to try to put myself at a disadvantage by trying new strategies that I don't think will work. And I think we found that there's a pretty standard certain set of cards that we can rely on that are generally going to be pretty good. But I don't mind experimenting just a little bit to try to see if there's something out there that is actually, maybe a better choice. And I do think that in this scenario, with what we're sitting with here, I do think that this starting army definitely has a lot of potential. Now, there's obviously some goodness in having the Scorpion, but the fact of a lot of the starting armies, both Banished and UNSC, have pretty good capability to fight and to take down, and have some pretty heavy anti-vehicle starting armies, I think is important to note, and that's why I think this starting army might be a little bit better. Also in ones, we have to make that consideration. In ones, I do want to point out the fact of having more units doesn't necessarily make a huge difference, but when you get 2 veteran Jackrabbits, the fact of how much damage they do, they're actually pretty good against infantry and like choppers, for instance. Additionally, it's important to note, you have 2 really fast energy grabbing units and point grabbing units right off the bat. So if you use them well, if you're smart with how you position them, and kind of how you go about it, I think this can really be the starting army, at least in ones. Maybe if you're playing 2s or 3s, you can definitely probably swap it up, especially if somebody has the capability to have just a different starting army, maybe a little bit more infantry focused, or something like that. Then I definitely think you can make that determination. But I do, like I said, I do like this. I think it's pretty good. So far it's working out obviously really well in this game. Again, I do feel bad. This isn't exactly the testing situation that I want, but this guy also didn't play too terribly. I just think I had more knowledge of the map, obviously, as well as just knowing and understanding you know, how to bring in and how to use my counter units. And then the one thing that sadly this guy isn't able to do, he really doesn't ever collect any energy. And as you guys know, if you get really far in the energy advantage, I called in a vulture there at the end. I had the capability of calling a grizzly pretty early. So we'll just kind of take it as it is. Didn't get a single energy core, and I don't want to rub the stats in, but we essentially win them all. So here is the deck. Again, I'm using the Mad Dash Army. Like I said, I think it's a good choice, especially in ones. The rest of the deck, pretty standard. We do have a little bit higher of a top end. We have the Vulture and the Grizzly. We also use the Vanguard Kodiak. It's definitely better than the standard Kodiak. The fact that you can call it in, it's got rush, and it sets up immediately is absolutely awesome. I tried to, that was a longer break than it seemed. I did a little bit of editing there because I don't think we need to take a look too long at the deck. So I tried to break myself up so that we wouldn't get matched with the same guy, but we did. But that was part of the plan for this. Again, I said back-to-back 2 games with a little break in between to take a look at the deck to see if there was any changes. And the RNG of the matchmaking system for this game took it full effect. So we got the same matchup. This guy did swap up, so he is using a different leader, different deck. So at least we get to take a look and see kind of how this matches up with different leaders and different starting armies. So at least that's kind of interesting. And again, you see I'm able to push out. I grab B and A simultaneously. I'm now moving to grab the core for energy. Overall, again, I feel very solid about this starting army, especially in ones. I'm grabbing my close energy with the Reflective Marines, which they do a fine job of grabbing that themselves. I'm going to go bolster B. I'm going to move this guy over. I'm going to grab C. I'm getting set up for the energy above A as well. I'll use that Veteran Jackrabbit once it grabs C to grab and set up over the energy spawn in over C. And really, I mean, against a good player, I'm probably not getting all 3. Not to say that this guy is necessarily bad, but again, just being new, that's just kind of what ends up happening. But like I said, I do like the initial army. I think the Reflective Marines, they're okay. They're not the greatest. They're not by no means are they the worst. Reflect is one of those things that I think in theory was really solid. I think it was a really cool idea. I just don't know if it plays out exactly the way we would hope. The one thing I am liking about Forge and this deck, as I've come to kind of see with a lot of the decks that I've been building and setting up, just happens to be the fact that I have really good answers to a lot of the units. He does a great job here calling in this Locust, which is going to do a great job. Kind of puts the pressure on A. I'm fine to fall back from that point and just kind of concede it because obviously we still have the advantage here. So he's definitely playing pretty good, making some smart plays. But again, I think if you are looking to kind of do a similar testing thing that I've done, as well as kind of set up a bunch of decks that are going to provide you some capability to be competitive in every scenario. I think it is important to just have a balanced deck, have good counter units, try to keep your initial energy costs relatively low, at least on the front end. And I think if you can do that, you'll find that you'll have a little bit more consistent success. So this being episode 5 so far, we're doing pretty well. We have a couple 2-0s. This one's looking like it'll set up to be a 2-0. Isabel and Colony were both 1-1. So overall, we're on a very positive uptrend for wins. And I really did play these back-to-back. I essentially just took some time. I set the decks up initially, just right up front, got them all set, ready to go, and then just jumped into playing these matches, with maybe some small breaks here and there, just back-to-back though. So overall, I think it's the one thing that's really taught me, again, and this is something that I'm going to do a separate video after this series is over, is just talk through kind of the lessons learned for me playing all these different leaders. The one big thing that I can take away is it really helped me understand what their starting armies are. So I know as soon as I see in the loading screen what I'm coming up against, and what I'm going to potentially fight. I can think through the 2 starting armies that they could possibly have, and then, you know, based off just a real quick glance at the beginning, I can tell what they're obviously playing, and then I know right away, even without having to, you know, essentially see their starting army, I kind of know what counter unit that I need to hold or I need to be able to play. So on top of, you know, for this starting army, for instance, I know if I coming up against something that's kind of vehicle heavy, or maybe I come up against a forge that's playing with the Scorpion, the first thing that I'm going to want to call in is some type of Cyclops. I know I don't need an energy gathering unit. I've got 2 veteran Jackrabbits that can go do that for me. You know, I can focus on having a hard counter unit that's going to allow me to win that initial fight while still having the capability to go grab energy. So just a few tips like that, things like that I've definitely been taking away. Again, we get a great win here. Cold Shy City, sorry man, sorry that you're a rank 1 and I'm a rank 30. You did help me get up into Platinum 6, which is pretty awesome. So hopefully we'll keep climbing, keep our streak going here. But jumping over, looking at the deck, really enjoyed having the sniper in here. I think this is one of the better additions that I've started to make. A lot of people, you know, it's always been a great unit, but I thought it was pretty narrow as far as what it did. But especially in ones, you do see a lot of the infantry. The Grizzly worked out really well. Good counter unit, or good unit overall. Vanguard Kodiak, the rush ability is definitely worth the extra 10 energy, so that's an easy choice there. Scatterbomb has actually been a pretty decent leader power. I know I talked about having a good leader power up front. Damage dealing is important. So I do like having that. And again, here we've got the 2 Reflect Marines, the 2 veteran Jackrabbits. Just great to have, honestly. They do a wonderful job, and like I said, you know, we've got the full metal, which is also a very decent and very playable starting army. But like I said, for ones, I do like having the Mad Dash. And having the capability to have those extra Jackrabbits and the Reflect Marines, they can hold their own for sure. So that's the deck. That's how it sets up. We'll continue the series. So you know, continue to check in the rest of this week as we move forward. We've got, I think, 5 more episodes after this, plus a final wrap-up episode. So really enjoying this. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe. Hit that little bell button. Follow us on Twitter. The link's in the description. You can also join the Xbox Average Gamer Guys Club. Free to everybody. We accept everybody. Good community there looking to play Halo Wars 2 and a bunch of other games. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Can't wait to finish this up and really enjoying seeing your guys' feedback as well. So let me know down in the comments kind of what you think. Maybe if you got a different Sergeant Forge build or any of the other leaders that we've covered so far, I'd be interested to talk with you about those. So I've been Doc with Average Gamer Guys. Again, thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate all the subscribers out there and everybody stopping by to spend a few minutes of their day with us checking these videos out. It means a ton to us. So thank you very much. Thanks again, and we'll check you in the next one.